I would openly say when a headhunter came and spoke to me about joining ABB, I was concerned. I had a bias about I didn't come from this industry, and it was the pulp and paper industry. I didn't know anything about it. Now, after 30 years, I understand a little bit about technology. But that bias that I had about can I really apply my knowledge and my experience either on the basketball court or in my college classes? And ultimately, the answer was yes, I could. That bias for me about can you really apply a finance and economics and a business background into a technical background? The answer is yes.
Sometimes we underestimate ourselves, but there's so many skills and your attitude towards your life and the journey can be transferable.
And I would say, hey, one of the biases that should be broken very quickly is that you're supposed to know everything. What you should do is lean forward so you can learn it.
Sometimes we try to do everything by ourselves. That's the biggest mistake you can do. You can tie yourself with one job or one task for a long time and you might not be able to fulfill. So rely on your team.
There's no one company, no matter how many hundreds of billions of dollars they make, can they do it on their own. That bias has been broken. This industry needs partnerships.
Interesting journey, like where you have started, how you have grown, and how your skills were transferable. This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow, in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry. Hello everyone, I hope you are happy and healthy. I'm Anand Jha, and this is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. You are listening to the mini-series on the journeys of leaders who have made big in this industry. And today I'm very happy because I will be joined by my friend and colleague, Troy Hobson, who is the Senior Vice President at ABB and currently leading a team of global account managers and segment managers for chemical oil and gas industry. He has a glorious career, but what interests me about him, his down-to-earth and humble approach to everyone who works with him on a day-to-day basis. So I'm looking forward to talk more about his approach to his life and his career and also to this chemical oil and gas industry. So welcome, Troy. I'm really happy to have you here.
Anand, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I appreciate very much your kind words.
Those are not kind. Those are the actual words coming from my heart. So no, I'm looking forward to this conversation. We were talking about the approach of the industry and how you have made progress in your career. So I'm looking forward to learn from it, and also our listeners can learn from it if they are looking to make it big in this industry. Without wasting more time, can you walk us through your professional and personal journey so we can all learn from it?
I surely will try, Anand. I appreciate the opportunity again. I have been. I think we all are on a journey. And I'm going to break down my professional career as part of my journey, and I'll mix in some things that are actually from my personal side. And when I think back at my 30 years with ABB, I think about three significant phases of my career. And the first one was in sales and sales management. I would openly say when a headhunter came and spoke to me about joining ABB, I was concerned. I had a bias about I didn't come from this industry, and it was the pulp and paper industry. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't think it was going to exist much longer. But ultimately, I took a leap of faith and I left a small company and joined a huge company. My industry concerns were belayed. The industry is still there. It's different, right? People still do business there. It was a huge transition for me, moving into a space that I didn't know people, I didn't know the industry, but I took that leap of faith. I learned that I had to lean on other people, just like I did when I was playing sports in high school and in college, building a support network. And that network became my friend network. And I was really interested to know the industry and how the processes worked and how and why people would buy things. And it helped me be pretty successful as a salesperson, as a sales manager in ABB. Basketball was a big part of my life, right? I had my coach, or I had my father, I had my high school, my junior high, and my college coach. And I'm going to say they were all helping me. But what they were really doing, Anand, they were in my face, they were setting expectations, and then they were trying to help me be successful by pushing.
Yeah, makes sense. And that we talked about how much you like that sport, and that sport also help you to shape to whoever you are today, And also you not coming from the technical background and coming to this company in ABB, which is very much technical, whatever we do. So can you talk about a little bit that switch? How was your feeling at that time and what was going on in your brain to make that switch?
Yeah. So my education from college is business and economics. So I kind of understand value and numbers a little bit more than I do technology. Now, after 30 years, I understand a little bit about technology. But that bias that I had about can I really apply my knowledge and my experience, either on the basketball court or in my college classes, can I really apply that in the pulp and paper business trying to sell capital projects? And ultimately, the answer was yes, I could. But I also did it with a network. I did it with people. And the person that I replaced, I reached out to him within the first 1 or 2 weeks and said, could you come back and help me understand how you were positioning something and what the real value of it is versus the bits and the bytes of it? And there's a balance there. Now, I would tell you that guy came right back down to the location that he had just been promoted from, and he and I have built a lifelong friendship. We are still friends today, and we've lived life together. So that bias for me about can you really apply a finance and economics and a business background into a technical background? The answer is yes. I can't go and do the engineering. That's not what the license permits, but I can understand the value. So to me, it was a huge success in stepping into ABB with everything that I knew from the competitive world to what I knew about business and economics.
Makes sense. I think it's a good learning for me and also all the listeners. So sometimes we underestimate ourselves, but there's so many skills and your attitude towards your life and the journey can be transferable. And I think Troy is a perfect example, like not coming from the technical background, but he made really good success. And continue that theme of success. Can you also talk about your journey to P&L manager and also your transition from US to Australia, how that went?
Sure. Those were some other really big steps, really bigger leagues that I was trying to play in. Moving from sales and sales management, I was given an opportunity to manage a P&L, a profit and loss. It started off in the United States. And it was a huge amount of fun. And what that really means is it was a huge amount of stress. I was learning new things. I was sleeping less in a healthy way. It wasn't crazy. Yeah. I was leaning on now financial people. I was now leaning on marketing people. I had to learn other roles, other functions around the company so that I could help them be successful. I knew how to help a salesperson be successful, but I had to learn other jobs that were working for me. And that led to me moving to the next role was a general manager where I had 6 P&L managers working for me, which is a step by itself. But the real big step was I got to leave the United States and I got to move with my wife and my 3 daughters who were all below 8 years old to another country. And yes, they speak English, but it's another culture. It's another company. It's another country. And I got to be on the country management team, which, Anand, in this transition, I didn't just switch from one country to another, from being a P&L manager to being a general manager. I also got elevated in ABB where I now had to pick my eyes up off of one division to now multiple divisions reporting to me. And then the next step was, and then I was on the country management team, which meant all of the divisions of ABB were sitting at the table and I had to build relationships with them. So with each of these steps, my eyes have come up off the ground. My vision has broadened, and that has been super encouraging. I think I want to know, I'm curious. ABB kept putting jobs in front of me that you had to be curious to learn about everyone else so you could be successful. The transition from my family, we went from public schools to private schools. We went from knowing where we were, and I can remember in the first 1 or 2 weeks, and for those that don't know, Australians drive on the other side of the car than Americans. They drive on the other side of the road. My wife and I had to go to a training where someone had to teach us to drive a car.
Definitely. That could be scary.
It was scary. It really was scary, but there was so much energy, so much oxygen in that transition. in general management. And I went from knowing one industry to knowing 6 industries. And it was a tremendous amount of fun. Then that phase lasted for about 10 or 12 years. And then I transitioned back to the United States and I stepped into the global account management role, looking after some very large oil, gas, and chemical companies.
Makes sense. Like one thing you mentioned about changing the geography, and that's a good learning for all of us. Don't tie yourself with one city, one town, or one country. Because sometimes opportunity knocks and you have to make that decision to act on this opportunity. And that's a perfect example. Like when you change the country, it came with more responsibilities. It could be a little scary or challenging, but at the same time, you learn from it and it helps you to develop you as a person. And this is what I have done in my career as well, going from India to Qatar, Qatar to Canada, Canada to US now. And every step helped me to grow as a person. And so really great journey, Troy, I can say that. Now, switching a topic here, going back to more on the industry side, as I said before, Troy is leading a team of global account managers and segment managers for chemical, oil and gas industry for ABB. So he's very much breathing chemical, oil and gas on day-to-day basis. So what changes do you see in this industry, Troy, that you can share with our listeners?
What I would start with is the industry has been around for a long time and it's going to be around for a long time. Having the right skills and the right experiences, it does matter. Right. And I've grown up through ABB. I didn't come to ABB knowing everything that I know today. And I would say, hey, one of the biases that should be broken very quickly is that you're supposed to know everything. What you should do is lean forward so you can learn it.
I think this is one thing I like to share. Sometimes we try to do everything by ourselves. That's the biggest mistake you can do. You can tie yourself with one job or one task for a long time and you might not able to fulfill. So rely on your team. That's a key messaging here. Sorry to interrupt, Troy, but I think that's very interesting. Like you talked about relying on the team and building a trust around you to be successful. So I just wanted to highlight that thing.
So you asked about changes and changes of the industry, and I'm going to broaden it just a little bit. ABB is a very large, it's complex in times, and we have something we call the ABB way. And one of the things about the ABB way is we transition from having people develop your career for you or show you the path that you could take to really holding ABB employees accountable for what do you want to do. And I really do believe in it. I think if you give a man a fish, then he's beholden. If you teach a man to fish, then the man's not beholden. He can go and do what he wants to do. So ABB really transitioned in the last 5 or so years to steer your own career. Now, there's still some development. I still help different people understand that path. And the other thing in this industry is, hey, you can get caught with goals. What is your objective for this year? But in my mind, I've really developed what are the big rocks that are stopping me from really winning big or really achieving and making the progress that I want? And I would tell you that that's been a change that I've lived through either by the industry or by ABB or, by graces of others. The other thing that I would talk about that's a change is the energy transition. Hey, openly, there are more companies today than there were yesterday for us to call on, to be successful with. And some of them are moving at a pace much faster than some of the other companies. And I would tell you that capital competes, right? We have assets that we have to deliver technology and make bids on. There are so many opportunities right now to go out, build a trusted advisor relationship with new customers, not walking away from the old. It's the and equation that we hear about in the energy transition. The old industry, which is oil, gas, and chemical, and the new industries, which are hydrogen and other offshore wind, are equally as important. So those changes allow me to continue to be curious and continue to learn.
Something new to learn from this industry. I think I can say that we hear lots of noise. This industry is going down, is going to die in next 5 years, 10 years. We are hearing these things for last, I don't know how many years. So this industry is not going to die, just to is going to reintroduce itself in new forms and bringing more opportunities than what we had in the past. Thank you so much for sharing about this industry. Now, going back to your journey, you have gone through different roles, but if you are given a chance to relive your journey, what changes you might make?
I would say, Anand, in my life right now, I believe that the type of people that I want to be around, they fit three criteria. They're hungry. They think more deeply, right? So they're hungry in what they're doing. They're intentional and they're smart. And yes, book smart and intellectually smart, but what they're really smart at is when they're engaging other people, what needs to be said and what doesn't need to be said. Some would call it emotional intelligence. And the third area is humility, right? Leading with the thought of serving others.
Yes.
So you ask, what would I do differently? I want to right now surround myself that fit people who are hungry, smart, and humble. And I would do that more frequently. Who I associate with starts to put ideas into my mind. So I want to make sure that I'm building a team with those type of people that fit some or all of those qualities.
No, that's perfect. You have already summarized those qualities. Actually, you have partially already answered my next question, but I will ask you, like, what could be the one advice that you want to give to someone who is looking to make big in this industry as a career or business?
Well, I'm one voice, one opinion. But again, I have three areas that I would say you would want to focus on. And my first answer, and this is something that I do, is discipline. And I don't
Right.
think of discipline as a bad word or a challenging word. It's routine, it's rituals. And I have certain rituals that I follow. What time do I wake up? What time do I go to bed? How much am I willing to do certain things? Self-control. And with each one of those little controlling arguments I get into with myself when I win, when I get that extra mile of jogging in, it helps me to know that my discipline is one of the foundations, right? So I would tell anybody that wants to be successful, you've got to have discipline in your life. The second one, and I spoke a little bit about it, is you've got to make choices. Not making a choice, some may not know this, is actually making a choice. So in my life, when I look at the different things that I can pick up and put on my shoulders to carry, I want to make sure that it's needed. It's part of my job or it's part of my family. I don't want to pick that thing up and put it on my shoulders if I don't need to carry it. So making good choices there. And I mentioned who I associate with, who I socialize with. That's also a choice that I would tell everybody. Aspire to be great, be around great people, or learn to be around great people. And the third thing, it's know what makes you happy. And you know what? I think there's a lot of work-life balance conversations, but what really matters to everyone is what's going to make you happy. For me, there's four things that make me happy. The fourth one is meaningful work. And I find meaningful work at ABB, calling on the oil and gas industry globally and building a team that thrives every day. And I'm trying to help them make great choices and define their own happiness.
That's excellent. Like, you have summarized everything. There's a lot to learn from it, but one thing I like to highlight here is a discipline. Discipline is important. Like, you can be ambitious in your life, but if you don't have a discipline to work towards it, nothing will happen by itself. And also you talked about the network. Network is very important. So build your network. Don't try to the way around. Like, I have seen people try to overwhelm everybody reaching out to the LinkedIn or social media platforms. But when even you are doing that, try to be mindful, like, how you're growing your network. But it's very important to grow your network and also learn from it. Last not the least, I have to keep it the theme of this show. We talked about many biases, but if you have to think about one key bias that you see in the industry or people from outside, how they look or feel about this industry.
So I mentioned a bias at the beginning of our conversation around do I have the intelligence? Can I apply what I've learned in college? And that was a bias that I broke, but I would tell you that there's still a bias. I have to keep breaking that bias when I go into different conversations. This industry is filled with very intelligent people. So that bias is never completely broken. So that's a bias. I would tell you that it never completely breaks.
Understood. So it's still there. So it's still there. Like,
It is still there.
Still there. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
still inside my mind. I still compete with myself every day. But hey, there's another statement at ABB, and I really like it. And I would tell you there's a bias. So the statement goes like this: if you want to go fast, go on your own. If you want to go far, go with a team. And the bias here is that you can take a new job and be successful on your own. And the analogy to that is that you can go out and play basketball on your own and be successful. You can't. You have to have a team around you. And I'll bring back in discipline. No basketball team wins without practice, right? You don't
Yeah.
walk in and win 20 out of 25 games unless you're extremely lucky. You might have talent, but what you really have is discipline. It's constantly something you have to be developing. So I think the bias that I wanted to say is you're not going on your own. You're not going to succeed on your own. You're not going to find happiness on your own. You're going to do it as part of a team. And the oil and gas industry, here's a big bias. There's no one company, no matter how many hundreds of billions of dollars they make, can they do it on their own. That bias has been broken. This industry needs partnerships. And yes, we're all vendors, we're all suppliers, we're all OEMs, and we're trying to succeed. We are better together, and we will go farther together as an industry. So when you're thinking about how do you develop yourself and the industry that you're in, well, the industry is your community, and you need to participate, be it with a competitor or someone you never know, like they're on your team and you're trying to go farther and farther with them. The bias that I would break is individual contributors aren't going to move us forward. It's us together as a team will move us forward.
That's a great learning. And I see this thing, the community is moving towards more inclusive than what it used to be. And I think that's a really great opportunity to break many of the biases that we just talked about it. So thank you so much. We have to stop now. We can go through this conversation for many more hours, but we have to stop. Thank you so much for all the learnings and also sharing your interesting journey, like where you have started, how you have grown, and how your skills were transferable. They might not be from the same industry, but you came as an outsider, but you have made it big. I clearly see we can all learn from it. So with that, anything to say, Troy, to our listeners here?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Anand. I always enjoy our conversations.
Thank you so much, Troy. So with that, that's it for this week. Keep listening, the Oil and Gas Baking by Show. We'll meet next week again. Thank you. Have a great day.